Good morning. It's lovely to be in the room with everybody this morning. I want to talk to you today about the importance of keeping left. And for those of you who are in the room, friends, who know about the left-hand side of the chain of survival, what that really means is making sure, I was going to ask about this, I was like, is this just the guys up the back know what my head's doing? In the chain of survival, what that means is that we get people ready. We equip people with skills so that when the worst thing happens, bystanders, general members of the public, feel able to step up, recognise there's a problem and do something about it. And that's the gold. Because without that, then the good, sexy stuff doesn't happen. And we end up having to look after people who have lost loved ones or have been at a cardiac arrest and not known what to do. That's not what we want. So I was asked to speak on the importance of keeping left. So to be fair, I'm done, right? We know that's the really important bit. But I want to just stop for a wee minute and take you back to when Save a Life for Scotland started. We had one vision. And it was on a day like this, a crisp October morning, that a huge amount of us met in one big tent in the middle of Edinburgh. And our ambition, our vision was to teach CPR. But it wasn't just to teach CPR. What we wanted to do was launch this movement. We'd set a strategy, as Gareth mentioned, where we had this ambition that actually we wanted to increase bystander CPR. And in order to do that, and in order to get more survivors, we needed to reach out to people in Scotland. But it wasn't one organisation's job to do it. We knew that the Scottish approach, what we're good at in Scotland, is working together. So we wanted to bring people together to start this movement that would hopefully save 1,000 lives by 2020, and we would do that by training 500,000 Scots. Well, let's just say people living in Scotland. If you're not Scottish, but you live in Scotland, that's all good, you're counted. And so we met in this one big tent on a really cold day, and we hoped that the good people of Edinburgh would come in and join us. And I want to stop and remind you for a minute that it was a vision, and part of the vision of this great guy, Algier, who brought us to the place that we are today, and we stand on his legacy, that as partners we continue to work together. And we all dug in, we got out on the streets. Everybody loves someone who approaches them in a cold-calling manner, but people actually did come in the tent. We had kids, we had adults, we even had people who'd just got married, bless them. And on that day, we reached over 1,000 people. And would we get to 500,000 by the end of 2020? Well, we did. We blasted it together in 4 years. And then we all sat and thought, Jinx, what do we do next? So there was another strategy where we decided, okay, let's reach 1 million. Why not? 1 million people. And let's raise bystander CPR rates to 85%. Because as Gareth mentioned, we'd done really well. We were still lagging behind, but Jinx, Scotland pulled it out of the bag. So where are we now? Well, we've reached about 726,000 people. So we've still got a wee bit to go, but we've still got a couple of years to do it. And what do we know about the numbers? Well, bystander CPR has also helped to increase survival from cardiac arrest. 66%. So the rest of my talk should really be about, actually, we need to get to 85% bystander CPR, right? So where are we going to get the 19% from? But I'm not going to talk about that. I've been kind of missing in action for a little while. And in the quiet times that I've had, I have not considered, what's our bystander CPR rate doing? How many people have we taught CPR to? Because that's kind of my bread and butter, right? But in the quiet moments that I had, I thought, I wonder how my team are. I wonder how the partners are. I've not spoken to them in ages. Not just I wonder what they're doing, but actually I wonder how they are. And I wonder how the people that I've already had connections with and helped inspire are getting on. And I had a moment of clarity where I realised that actually, although we had set these numbers, these grand numbers, when it comes to keeping left and when it comes to working with people in our societies, where we're trying to equip them with skills and make them feel ready, it cannot simply be about headcount. I don't know who the 500,000 people were. I still don't know who the 726,000 people are. But what matters is a heart count, the connection that we have with people that makes them then willing to take action. I know that's a little bit of a shift, and I don't want all the data people in the room to get a bit scared at this point, but hey, what happens if we don't meet 1 million? What happens if we don't raise our bystander CPR rates to 85% by 2026? Do we fail? I don't know who's won, who's failed. It's not a game where somebody wins and loses, is it? And it made me realise that actually, not just on the left-hand side of the chain, but throughout the chain, the sexy stuff that you do in hospital, the aftercare, looking after survivors, looking after families of people who haven't survived, and the bystanders, it's really important that we keep an infinite mindset around this stuff. And let me just apply it simply to Save a Life for Scotland. Infinite mindset, which I think we all actually have, is that we have a just cause. It's not just a vision, it's a dream, right? It's not just let's reach 1 million people with CPR skills by 2026. It's actually every single person in Scotland should have the opportunity to be equipped with CPR skills. Every single one. And that every single person should have the opportunity to be resuscitated by a bystander and have a defib nearby them and used if possible. And that every single person should be allowed to have a dignified death. And that every single person should be offered the same level of care and support, whether you're a survivor or a family or a bystander. We can't put a number on it because the just cause is every single one, and that's an infinite mindset. Will it happen in my lifetime? Maybe not. Will it happen in yours? Maybe not. But if we don't believe that that's where we want to go, then we're just putting numbers and barriers up to kind of where do we go and where do we stop? And what do we need to do that? Well, we need to build trusting teams. I'm really proud of the Save a Life for Scotland partnership. These are numerous organisations and public sectors that come together along with government around one thing. And you know, they've all got their own strategies, they've all got their own stuff that they want to do. And so the easy thing to do is hold on to that. But actually what we want people to do is share. And so the campaign allows for our partners to trust each other, to share their ideas, to not be scared of somebody nicking their ideas or doing something better than them, because we're doing it around about one purpose, that one just cause that everybody has the same chance. But continuing that trust is hard. It's a daily work. And to those of you who are partners in this room, I thank you that you continue to trust each other and share your ideas with each other. And of course, there's rivalry. Why wouldn't there be rivalry? I'm not even going to start to talk about which partners get on with who, or certainly in the resuscitation world, you will know that there are rivals. You will know that there's other researchers or other cool resuscitation people who do things better than you. Well, that's not a bad thing. You're all after the one just cause, right? So learn from them. Learn what you can apply. Learn where your weaknesses lie, so that we all continue for the one goal, everyone. And you need to flex. When we started, people said, what's your strategy? And we kind of went, I don't know. But we set up, but our partners had to flex, and we've had to flex as well. Which means that you have to lead with courage. And my challenge to you in the room is that everyone here can lead with courage. Do the right thing, not always the easy thing. But do the right thing for the people that we're trying to reach, the people of Scotland. Because when you play with an infinite mindset, there's no finishing line. There's no 2026. We're fighting for survival, not to win. There's no winners and losers in this game. But people must come first. And our 1 million people, they come first, but brings us an awful lot more people in Scotland than 1 million, right? And I'm really glad that Jenny spoke about our disability resources, because what I want to do is just take a short piece of time to really highlight the people that we're missing. We produce some resources to help people with disabilities. And it's used, but it's not used enough. But this is what teaching people with disabilities can look like. And I showed this at a resuscitation conference, and there was this deep intake of breath, as most of the perfectionists in the room said, you can't teach CPR like this. It's not on a hard surface. How can they do proper compressions like this, right? People with disabilities know what they can and cannot do so much better than you do. So give them the stuff. Bend, flex, and let them work out what they can do and what they can offer. Because these are valuable people, and we must not exclude them. There's also really hidden groups in our society, and I just want to highlight one ethnic minority group, which is the Gypsy travelling community. They approached us and asked us if we would teach them CPR, and Gareth and I did an online session with them, and it was probably one of the best online sessions I've ever done. Their energy was fantastic. But because they're such a stigmatised group, they're closed. The danger to this group, in terms of letting other people in, even letting people know where they are at times, is too high. So we had to give them stuff and let them go. We had to trust them. And what these 3 women have done, who are the 3 community healthcare workers who are Gypsy travellers themselves, have gone to missions and taught lots and lots of people. And do you know why it works? Is because they pick times when people are coming together. Social times. People meeting, celebrating, eating, chatting, learning CPR, and how to use a DFib. I can't show you pictures of this happening because they're such a closed and stigmatised group. And who stigmatises them? People living in Scotland. So don't be one of them. They've been fantastic because they approached Fife Council, and every single Gypsy travelling community site in Fife now has a DFib. And they want to do more. This is just one example of a group that's often left out and stigmatised. And I know that we're working hard, but we can do better. And finally, as Jenny also spoke about, there's great inequality in this land. Scotland's brilliant, it's beautiful, we're a great bunch of folks, but there's the haves and the haves not, and it still exists today. And my fear by looking at the data sometimes is that we're still got this big divide. When we set out, it was really easy to go to the tennis clubs and the bowling clubs. We'd go to anyone. But now we need to be really, really careful that we don't exclude. Because often groups and areas of social deprivation are seen as too hard to reach. Well, do you know what? They're not too hard to reach. They're right there. And when I spoke to some international colleagues about disability and areas of deprivation, one of them said with honesty, but it made my blood run slightly cold, we've got enough going on trying to teach the kids in schools, never mind trying to work out how we teach the disabled and the poor people. Not in Scotland. Not here. Everyone. Okay? Everyone gets the opportunity. But it's tricky sometimes to work out how to do it. This image is of my good friend Liz, who worked in our team. And we went to Postle Park in Glasgow, which is a really interesting part of Glasgow to visit. And we were invited into a healthcare day, so there was tables with people telling you how to stop smoking, people telling you how to not take drugs, people telling you how not to set your house on fire, and then there's us teaching people how to save a life. I can count on one hand the amount of people who approached us that day. And the hall was empty. Why? Because there was no social connection. There was no cohesion. And we didn't regret it, but we learned. And then we went to Muirhouse in Edinburgh for 5 days, and we invited to go in front of the community shop and set up a stall. It was great fun. We took all our stuff. This is one of my most favourite pictures of the entire campaign that we've ever done. But for the first 2 days, people ignored us completely. And the reason they ignored us was because they didn't want to get involved. There was nothing to bring them together. So we got little freebies, pens, handed them out. That worked. People still didn't stop. What made them stop was when somebody brought the kettle out and put some really cheap biscuits on the table. And then people stopped and started to speak to each other. And what did we learn? Actually, communities need face-to-face contact. They need to talk. They need social connection. So it all seems a bit bleak, doesn't it? But let me just give you one last story before I go, because it's possible to work with different communities. They're not hard to reach. We just need to be really clever about it. And we need to trust them that they know best. Craig Miller in Edinburgh approached us and asked if we could help them get a DFib in place and do some CPR. And then, of course, we said yes, and then it all went a bit quiet. And then I received a call from their worker telling me that actually one of the members of their community had had a cardiac arrest and died in their community centre. And could we do something like now? So we went and met with them. And we said, well, what do you want to do? And they said, well, I'll tell you what, why don't you go and teach the kids in the school? And then we'll have a chat with the kids, and we'll have a chat with the community, and then we'll come back to you with a plan. And we thought, okay, this is interesting. So we went and taught the kids in the school, and this is what teaching kids in schools looks like. It's brilliant. And then I didn't hear from them forever. And then this came through. They planned an entire day, an entire afternoon, to celebrate the life of the chap who'd died. But it wasn't, why don't you come and bring your stuff and teach people CPR? No. We had Highland dancing. We had a choir who sang stuff from The Greatest Showman that made us all cry. There was poster competitions. And of course, there was a big, shiny fire engine, which always attracts everyone. And then at the end of the day, they had invited a street orchestra to come and play. And everybody gathered in that church and listened to that orchestra. The arts brought people together, not healthcare. But we know, hey, the arts do have good healthcare outcomes. The World Health Organization has written a systematic review about it in 2019. So we don't need to be healthcare-y about it. We just need to find the connection and then allow the communities to do their thing. And I want to leave you with this statement that Danny on the right-hand side, who was the community worker who pulled it together, said. That it sends a strong message to the community of Craig Miller, who forever might be painted in a bad light. That as much as the DFib that they put in place saved lives, but it tells them that their lives matter. Infinite mindset. Everyone in Scotland gets the opportunity to learn skills. Everyone in Scotland is able to do bystander CPR or feels that they're supported to do it when they need to do it. Everyone in Scotland has the opportunity to have bystander CPR delivered, and everyone in Scotland gets support afterwards. Leave no one behind. Thank you.